Hey everybody, today I want to talk to you about how your past does not define your future. Your past does not define your future. So hopefully this will be inspirational to anyone who is currently struggling with finally going into that rehab to get yourself clean, or getting yourself off the streets. If you're a prostitute or not living a good life, hopefully this will help encourage someone who just may want to apply for that promotion at their job, but yet they're struggling with fears that they're not qualified when they've been at the company for 10 plus or so years and they're overly qualified. Hopefully this message today encourages someone to make that next big move. And so I want to talk about how your past does not define your future. A lot of times you can become discouraged, especially by those who know you from your past. And they will throw things out there that can discourage you. For example, people will say, John is, I remember him back in the day. John used to sell drugs. How does he want to be a defense attorney now? He can't be no defense attorney. That man was out there on the streets. Or Karen, Karen used to always be chubby growing up. She was always the fat one in class. She's overweight and chubby. But how is she going to now be a personal trainer? She can't be no personal trainer, no dietitian. Or Tony, Tony was a young kid and he was always a bully at school, starting fights and beating people up. But he wants to be a parole officer. How is he going to be a parole officer? So a lot of times your past will be the very thing that will prepare you for your authentic self, who you are becoming in the future. And God will use that weakness. He will use that sin, the sins of your past, or the sins of your relatives sometimes, your ancestors sometimes. He will use that very thing, and you will be the one to overcome. So that I hope to encourage someone today. And I like to use scriptural reference or stories of the Bible to sometimes help. Because a lot of times people think the Holy Bible, but if you really look at, the people in the Bible, none of the people in the Bible were perfect except for Jesus. And I'm going to prove it to you. Saul, whose name became Paul. Paul was an apostle, one of the apostles of Jesus Christ. But before he became an apostle of Jesus Christ, his name was Saul, and he killed Christians. He did not like Christians. And then you may recall the story of David in the Bible, who came up against a mighty giant, Goliath. And nobody else wanted to or had the courage to fight Goliath, but David did. David was a sheep herder. That was his past. His father had him in charge of the flock. But what people didn't see behind the scenes were he was out in the fields wrestling lions, saving little sheep out of the mouths of lions. Can you imagine that? What strength and courage it took to do that. If I saw a lion, I wouldn't be saving those sheep. I'd him haul up and get up out of there. So that very thing that David was being prepared for, that people probably looked down on him about, nobody thought was of any significance, God used that very thing to have him fight Goliath. And he won. He killed Goliath. He took a little smooth stone with a slingshot and with precision shot it right between the eyes of the giant and brought a great big giant down to death. and became ruler, I believe, of Israel. So God used that very thing about David, and he showed people he's going to use who he wants to use. So just know that your past does not define you. It prepares you. You should not be ashamed of doing the things that, you're feeling led to do or you want to do. If you want to go to school, if you want to go back to college, if you want to get your GED, if you want to get yourself off the streets, if you want to get rid of an addiction, don't listen to the noisome pestilence. And we talked about noisome pestilence in one of my previous videos. Don't listen to the noisome pestilence, because that very thing that is a weakness, that very thing that people mock you about, that laugh about, that's what God wants to use to bring you to your destiny, to bring you to your outcome, to bring you to your authentic self. So that's today's message for today. I hope and pray that it blesses you. And I thank you for listening.